Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Previously, Ryunosuke put up a spectacular fight in proving that there was a connection between Drebber and Scythe. And indeed, we managed to posit a very likely theory that Scythe was blackmailed into helping Drebber by making a swap of the bodies at the Great Exhibition. And at that, Scythe actually came forward and she confirmed that it was the truth. She admitted to it. And that sent the court reeling, but all the same, Drebber is yet to give up the fight. So we need to still fight to get to the bottom of this. And worst of all, I have this gut feeling that Scythe may have been giving up this little thing to take a smaller hit so she can get away with something bigger, but we'll see where that goes. Anyway, I admit nothing at all. What? Have you forgotten that the kinesis machine was ripped to shreds by an explosion? Short of me admitting to a crime, there is really no possible way for you to prove I did anything wrong. No! Oh, actually. Ordar? Ordar? Ordar! Whatever this man says, I admit everything. He threatened to expose my secret, so I went along with his plan. And Lord Van Zeeks... Yes? I hope you'll accept my apologies. What happens next is in your hands, of course. I have heard more than enough now. I hereby present the final findings of this court. Oh. This trial is not the proper forum in which to pursue the alleged wrongdoings of Mr. Drebber. The defendant is Professor Albert Harebrain. Very true. It had slipped my mind. Isn't he one of your closest friends? As the court has heard, Dr. Scythe has admitted to the allegations brought by the defense, thereby absolving the defendant of any possible guilt. You mean... At the present time, it is the conclusion of this court that the defendant was not involved in any wrongdoing. Does the prosecution have any objection? None, my lord. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. You've proven Professor Harebrain's innocence. Without further ado, then, the adjudication. Unless the prosecution or defense have any other matters to discuss. I don't know. This doesn't feel quite right. Why did Dr. Scythe suddenly admit to it like that? Is everything alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Like you said before, the way the trial is set to end now, the judge will certainly deliver a verdict of not guilty. But is that really what we want? What the defense should be pushing for now is... further testimony. Yeah, this doesn't sit right with me. None of it sits right. It reeks. It's stinky. There's a butt stench here.
Objection!
The defense objects to the trial ending at this time, my lord. I beg your pardon. We demand one final testimony. What? You do realize I'm about to adjudicate in favor of your client, I presume? What are you playing at now, my Nipponese friend? Why would you want to obstruct the conclusion of the trial at this point? No defense lawyer in his right mind would do that. Mr. Naruhodo, what exactly are you thinking? The truth, the whole truth, and a way to bring it all out into the open. Right. Yes, in hindsight. Yes, one word of warning before I go. If, in the course of the trial this afternoon, you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. To the bitter end, you understand. Do not falter, whatever may come to pass. I'm sure Mr. Sholmes knew. He must have deduced that this would happen. Yes, I'm here in court to advocate for my client, and to secure an acquittal. Obviously. But that's not all. I believe that I have a duty to the court to pursue the whole truth of the case until every last detail is laid bare. And that is why the defense calls for further testimony from Dr. Scythe. Testimony from me? About what? About the nature of your collaboration with Mr. Enoch Drebber. In case it's escaped your attention, I've already admitted to everything I did. The whole truth has already been revealed. So stop wasting everyone's time. As his lordship made very plain, your client will get the acquittal you wanted for him. There's simply no point protracting this business further with another tedious cross-examination.
Objection!
Oh, ho, ho. Boy, Kazuma sure is unflappable. Pray forgive my careless handling of that hallowed bottle. I slipped. He slipped, he says. Okay. That's what you call it? What is your objection, Lord Van Zieks? The prosecution also calls for supplementary testimony from the witness. Don't be stupid. If there is more to this case that has yet come to light, then I will join my learned friend in pursuing the facts until the bitter end. You'll what? Lord Van Zieks. This is most irregular, to say the least. However, as the prosecution also calls for it, I will uphold the request. Dr. Scythe, you will testify for the court, explaining the full extent of your involvement in the murder apparently committed by Mr. Drebber. Very well. For a second there, I was like, oh man, should I have just recorded for like a few more minutes in the previous video? But nah, there's more to this. It all began at the scene when I saw the waxwork and the note tucked inside its jacket. The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instructions, was beneath the experimentation stage. The body had to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant, which was my job. I enlisted the help of the entire forensic investigation team to dress the scene appropriately. Wow! Really? And not one whistleblower among them? That sucks. The truth about the execution 10 years ago is a state secret of the highest level. I had to protect it. So I was right. The stage and the machine were all specially designed for the deception. So it seems, and all meticulously prepared. You did well to see through it. You're a very shrewd boy. So kind of you to say. Nice, more like a mouse boy. Because of the The little doll on his shoulder. Not a shrew. Okay, maybe I should have workshopped that joke.
And what about this autopsy report then? All I did was record the location of the body as being in the Crystal Tower instead of under the stage. That's all? That's a terrible corruption.
So he really broke his neck by falling like that? Oh, it wasn't his neck, it was his spine. That I actually do believe. A fall from that height with like no padding or anything, yeah. I can definitely believe the spine would break like that.
Only my team were aware of the deceit, and then only under my explicit instructions. Nobody else at Scotland Yard knew anything about it, I assure you.
We must be thankful for small mercies, I suppose. Well, I believe that testimony has clarified everything. There's no particular need for a cross-examination, I would say.
No, I disagree. I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. Just look at that expression on Dr. Scythe's face.
It's the defense's right to cross-examine any witness following testimony.
What is it about you Japanese that makes you all so doggedly persistent?
Very well. If you so desire, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Yes, my lord.
The waxwork plot.
It all began at the scene when I saw the waxwork and the note tucked inside its jacket.
Hold it!
From what you described before, it sounds like the note was anonymous. Did you have any idea of who was behind it?
There are very few people in the know about what really happened 10 years ago to start with. But anyway, I'd never heard of this engineer, so no, I had no idea.
Yet despite not knowing who was behind the plan, you went along with it.
I had no choice. Protecting the professor's secret was my only concern.
But the horse has bolted now, and the stable door will never shut again. Scotland Yard's reputation will be immeasurably damaged as a result of all this.
Yes, thank you, Lord Van Zieks. I'm well aware of that.
So, as I understand it, what you found in the birdcage was the waxwork model. Where, then, was the victim's body?
The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instructions, was beneath the experimentation stage.
Hold it!
So you knew about the special construction of the stage used to carry out the trick, then?
It was quite obvious what had happened with the victim and the waxwork.
And you switched the two over, didn't you? In other words, you recorded the victim's body as having been discovered in the Crystal Tower, and the waxwork.
I wrapped it and sent it by carriage to the special address, a specified address at the specified time.
And why were you given such directions? Presumably so it could be recovered by Drebber and returned to Madame Two Spells. I see. And then you put the birdcage back on the experimentation stage.
Yes, although someone obviously made a mistake about which cage should go where. I thought I'd made it perfectly clear to the team, but still.
I suppose you were focused on the victim's body, that being a more important detail.
The body had to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant, which was my job.
Hold it!
Wait, did you stab him? When you say arranged, I presume you mean with this.
Yes, the instructions in the engineer's note said something along the lines of fabricate some evidence to make it clear that Hairbrain alone could have killed Asmin.
So, you mean that was your doing?
I fetched Hairbrain's ridiculous screwdriver from the stage and took it with me, alone, to the abyss under the stage where the birdcage had fallen.
Alone, Doctor?
I didn't feel it would be appropriate to involve anybody else in that particular part of the deception.
Oh my.
There was a void under the stage where I found the birdcage lying in the dirt. I approached it, leaned down, and slowly opened it up. Then I took the screwdriver in both hands and plunged it into the man's chest.
And then you noted that in your fake autopsy report as a fictitious cause of death.
Exactly.
So, the actual cause of death was...
the trauma resulting from the 30-foot drop.
My word.
What is it, Mr. Sato? Something about Dr. Sight's last statement is playing on my mind, that's all.
Yes, mine too. Dr. Scythe.
There's really no need to shout. I can hear you perfectly well.
The defense calls for you to add what you just said to your formal testimony.
Oh? Which part?
What I want her to supplement her testimony with is... the real cause of death. That's... something's off about that. Like... I'm no expert physicist, but... So the birdcage fell. I'm trying to think. This part got damaged the most, the underside, specifically the front. I feel like... okay, how do I angle this? As it was falling, it must have fallen kind of like this, tilted to the side. I feel like the part that would receive the most impact would be this area. Would the force that travels up this part actually be enough to break a man's spine? Like, there's no padding at all. I can't decide. I think that it feels wrong. The real cause of death. The real cause of death being the fall of 30 feet. That part.
Fine, if that's what you want. Just stop yelling, please.
The prosecution concurs. Very well, you will supplement your testimony now, witness.
If you wish, my lord.
Let's see. The actual cause of death was the neck trauma Asmin suffered from the 30-foot fall. Neck trauma. It is neck. A case of whiplash I'd give you, but broken neck, really? But you know, at the same time, this bloody screwdriver, It was later found poking through the grill in the base of the machine. So Scythe plucked it out of the chest after she stabbed it and moved it? Moved it? I guess to make sure it was found later, but... okay, we'll pass this by for now and see the rest. I enlisted the help of the forensic investigation team to dress the scene appropriately.
Hold it!
The entire team in perverting the course of justice.
My team consists of the very best investigators there are. I demand loyalty from all members. We operate on a code of chivalry of sorts.
You aid and abet a murderer, commit perjury, and dare to talk of chivalry.
It was a matter of priorities.
What?
Nothing was more important than protecting the secret of the professor. My team did what was necessary without losing sight of the primary goal. I consider their conduct exemplary.
Ugh.
Don't concede the point, Mr. Naruhodo. You mustn't let her win.
I need a lawyer.
I'll take that silence as tacit acceptance. Now, can we move on? The truth about the execution 10 years ago is a state secret of the highest level. I had to protect it.
That I believe.
Hold it!
But at what cost? Faith in Scotland Yard is going to suffer a terrible blow as a result of this. And your precious secret is out now anyway.
Yes, as you say. And I take full responsibility.
Blow me down, Dr. Scythe! Oh, that poor guy. He really liked her. Surely there was some other way you could have protected the secret.
No, there really wasn't. I've done my utmost, believe me. In many ways, I respect your determination.
Phew. I nearly froze under that cold stare as she said that.
I do believe she was being genuine, though, Mr. Naruhodo.
So that's her story.
She's admitted everything and revealed her full involvement in the crime. I do wonder if there could really be much more to it.
Well, I don't know, but I just have a feeling.
Do you, Mr. Naruhodo? The truth is, I find it strange too. How those two are reacting to this in completely opposite ways, I mean.
Yes, exactly. For some reason, I feel sure they're still trying to hide something. Huh. Let's take another look at the screwdriver and the birdcage. Okay, nothing new about it. And nothing new about this either. Just making sure. I don't want any repeat mistakes.
The actual cause of death was the neck trauma Asmund suffered from the 30-foot fall.
Hold it!
You're quite sure of that? It was a result of a broken neck.
Yes, as a professional, that was more than apparent.
Wait, was that what she actually noted down in the autopsy? His neck was broken. Yeah. Broken vertebra, most likely resulting from impact after a sudden fall from considerable heights. I mean, there's more to the vertebra than just what's in the neck.
You'd never know just by looking at the photograph of the victim, though, would you?
No, that's very true.
Obviously not. which is precisely why coroners are needed to determine the actual facts.
Yes, assuming they can be trusted. Ouch. There's no point calling her assessment into question without evidence. Let's get back to the testimony.
Very well.
Okay. I want to hear her talk at length about the screwdriver. So let's press this and get her to amend her statement with the screwdriver. And I can't skip? Fabricate some evidence to make it clear that Hairbrain alone could have killed Asmund. Went without any of your team. We've seen this. Oh, I guess this is why I can't auto-skip. It's, I guess the scripting might, break. It might break this scene if I was able to skip. After that, it was simply a matter of recording the stab wound as the cause of death on the autopsy report. That's all? Okay, but what about moving the screwdriver afterwards? I'm sure you could ask Dr. Seth to change the supplementary testimony she gave before. What should I ask her to do with the statement she added? Have her change it. Dr. Scythe, what you said before about what you did to the victim's body, I believe that may be significant, so could you change your supplementary statement to explain that instead?
Very well. I stood over the victim's corpse where it lay in the toppled cage and plunged the screwdriver into the chest.
Oh. Wouldn't that necessitate opening the cage? Hold on.
Hold it!
So it was you who stabbed Asmund with this?
Yes, far easier than dissection, I assure you. No precision required.
What a welcome change.
The victim died instantly from a snapped neck. All I did was carry out the instructions I'd been given.
As unflinchingly as ever, no doubt. I imagine you didn't bat an eyelid when you drove the weapon into his body.
There was no need to bat my eyelids.
And what else did you do to twist the facts? Remind the court, why don't you?
If you wish.
Ah, something smelly here. But I can't smell, so that's a problem. Stood over the victim's corpse where it lay in the toppled cage. I mean, it looks like that's easy to open. No, key required, but there's no way. I call bull.
Objection!
Damn it! Damn it, damn it. Ah. That last statement, blah, 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 blah. We've seen that one. Okay. Okay, plan B. You plunge the screwdriver into the chest. But plan B would have been... dress the scene appropriately. Does that mean put the screwdriver into the machine? Okay, now I'm having second thoughts. You know what? Maybe I really should have just trusted my gut from the start.
Hold it!
Oh, now I can skip. I'm thinking maybe it really is a matter of the impact on the cage not being able to translate to a broken neck. Have her change it, and then we'll try the cage on that. Dr. Scythe, what you said before about the real cause of death, I believe that may be significant, so could you change your supplementary statement to explain that instead?
Very well.
Okay. The actual cause of death was the neck trauma Asmund suffered from the 30-foot fall. Okay, this might be a stretch, but I don't believe he could have suffered that trauma from a 30-foot fall, not because of the cage. The cage would have prevented it. Maybe?
Objection!
Damn it! Oh, no. Uh-oh. I'm in trouble. Actual cause of death. Actual cause of death. Oh boy. I mean, I see one here. The actual cause of death was the neck trauma Asmund suffered from the 30-foot fall. But the autopsy report she penned said that the cause of death was the hemorrhage from the wound. Yes, this is a contradiction, but it's very clearly intended to make it look like Hairbrain was the murderer. That's the whole point of her going along with doctoring the crime scene. I mean, easy explanation aside, it is a contradiction. Wait. It pierced the heart. The autopsy report says the screwdriver pierced the heart. When I was talking to her about what she did to the body, didn't she say no aiming required? Was that a lie? Did she have to purposely aim for the heart? Why would she have to purposely aim for the heart? Wouldn't that mean he was still alive? Hold on, I need to see this. Okay, have her change it back to her statement about what she did with the screwdriver. I stood over the victim's corpse where it lay in the toppled cage and plunged a screwdriver into the chest. Ah, no. The no aiming required bit was not from a testimony, it was from another just fluff bit of dialogue. That's not something I can counter directly. Crap. Okay, well, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to the other statement about how she said the cause of death was the snapped vertebra, and I'll try my hand at saying, if that's the case, why did you write the cause of death was the screwdriver in your report? But I don't like it. Have her change it. The actual cause of death was the neck trauma. The report you penned says the opposite.
Objection!
Yeah, I didn't really think that would go through. Okay. Well, no one can say I didn't try my very best to think this through, so... time to look up what to do. Shameful, but... oh well, I've already spent enough time here as it is. Yo. Absolutely genius. Oh, the solution to this required thinking outside the box, and I completely failed to do that. So, okay, I need to go to the other option, I believe. The guide I checked wasn't actually specific. I hope this is it. We need to ask her about what she did to the body, not the fall, but what she did to it. Have her change it. Now she says, I stood over the victim's corpse where it lay in the toppled cage and plunged the screwdriver into the chest. I think what we have to prove wrong here is that it wasn't a corpse yet, because we need to show the photograph. I think that if Asmund was actually dead, his heart would not be beating. And with no heartbeat, there's no blood flow. And if there's no blood flow, all that blood couldn't burst out and stain his clothes when the screwdriver dove into it. He wouldn't have bled as much. I think that's the logic here of why I need to present this photograph of the victim to the statement, I think.
Objection!
Because I'm like, the guide I check, it's spoiler-free, it just tells you very clinically what to do. It doesn't explain the logic of why you're doing it. I've got a nasty feeling that this inconsistency points to an extremely uncomfortable truth. What on earth is the matter, Counsel? Have you lost your tongue? I apologize, my lord. Dr. Scythe, in that last statement of yours, there's just one point that seems to defy explanation. Out with it, my learned friend. There's an obvious inconsistency between your description and this photograph, which shows the victim in the birdcage following the events that led to his death.
Objection!
The court has already examined that photograph in depth. There's nothing new we can learn from it.
Objection!
Is this a new song, by the way? I like it. Yes, we have already considered it, that's true. But we now know the facts to be different. What do you mean? I believe we should let the defense explain. Where in this photograph would we see the alleged inconsistency with the witness's statement? Well, I mean, the statement's about the stabbing, so it has to be this.
Take that!
Right? Oh. Look closely at the bloodstain on the victim's chest. It clearly extends in a downwards direction towards the man's feet. Oh, son of a... Ah! This is so obvious! Nah. Oh my god, it does! Oh, no. And why is that significant, Counsel? If the victim was stabbed moments before the kinesis machine was set in motion, that's extremely expected. Oh! Of course, no, that's not what happened. Exactly, my lord. Dr. Scythe made it very clear in her testimony just now that the point at which she stole Professor Hairbrain's screwdriver and stabbed the victim was after the grand deception was set in motion, when the birdcage had fallen below the stage out of sight. From the shape of it, it's clear that the birdcage would have fallen on its side after the 30-foot drop. And if the victim had really been stabbed whilst inside the birdcage in that position, the blood from the wound would have spread out equally in all directions. For it to have formed the longitudinal appearance we see in the picture is inconceivable. Given that the victim's blood seeped vertically downwards from the wound, It must be the case that when you stabbed Mr. Asman, he was standing up. In short, Dr. Scythe, your latest testimony was a total fabrication. Well, I think we got her there. I really thought I had something there with the heartbeat theory, but okay. I knew it. I was right. Now I've identified that contradiction. There's only one way to explain the facts. We've all been under a great misapprehension here. What? What sort of misapprehension? Dr. Scythe, you claim you were coerced into helping Mr. Drebber as a result of the note he left in the waxwork. You claim that you made changes to the scene of the crime to implicate the defendant. And you claim that you authored a fake autopsy report to cover your tracks. But one of those claims is an out-and-out lie. Because the question of what the bloodstain really tells us has only one possible answer. If that is the case, what is it, man? Counsel, you've clearly struck upon a revelation. Now tell the court what it is. Which part of Dr. Scythe's story is shown to be a lie by the contradiction in her testimony? Oh boy. Okay, now that I actually look at these and think about it for more than 2 seconds, there's nothing else it could be, right? The stabbing of the victim. The nature of how she was coerced doesn't have anything to do with this. And the autopsy report we already know is a lie. It's the stabbing of the victim. The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of events. If, when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards, as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time. But as you rightly pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage. Yes, it would, which tells us that the victim must have been in that position of his own accord.
Objection!
That's impossible. The man was dead, remember? No, that is the misapprehension. When the birdcage fell from the stage into the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. But Mr. Asman didn't die in the fall. He must have been knocked out for some time. He probably lost consciousness for a while, but when he came round, he got to his feet to climb out of the cage. Just as Dr. Scythe appeared. If the victim was in fact alive at that point in time, it changes everything. He doesn't like it. Mr. Odie Asman's killer wasn't the defendant, Professor Albert Harebrain, nor was it the mastermind behind the stage trickery, Mr. Enoch Drebber. It was you, Dr. Courtney Scythe. Arg! Ooh, this just got spicy. Ordar! 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 Can this possibly be true? Have you been taking me for a fool? It was you, was it?
You killed him? You hoped that by admitting to being an accomplice in Mr. Jebber's scheme, the trial would end, before you were accused of a far worse crime. Cold-blooded murder. Oh, do shut up! You're so desperate now, you're making all this up, as if I would do something like that.
Objection!
I assure you the defense is not desperate, Doctor. Mr. Naruhodo has established the facts using evidence and logic alone. Ha! Logic? Don't make me laugh. Sadly, your logic has a gaping hole in it. What? What do you mean? I'd have thought it was obvious. A motive, boy. You're lacking a motive. What possible reason would I have to kill Mr. Asman?
Are you a frickin' idiot? What? I mean, I'm dumb most of the times, but do you think I'm an idiot? Of course there's a motive. You were blackmailed into it. Asman was involved in any number of criminal activities, from coercion to theft to murder. But there is no known connection to Dr. Scythe there. I'm rather relieved to say it does seem somewhat far-fetched.
True, there's no obvious motive. There's still something in the back of my mind. I feel sure I've seen something somewhere that hints at why the coroner might have done this. Yes, I might have tampered with the crime scene and concocted a fake report, but murdering someone for no reason is a very different story.
What is this?
Objection!
No. When you questioned what possible reason you could have for wanting to kill Mr. Asman, something did come to mind. What?
What was it, counsel? Enlighten the court at once.
Yes, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? Something that seemed strange, but we had no reason to suspect it at the time. There is a particular object that explains why Dr. Scythe would have wanted to kill Mr. Asman. Scalpels? That's right! Oh my god, I've completely forgotten. Yeah, that was a huge weird thing. Courtney's office had... No, there was a shipment order, or a record of shipment in her logbook, talking about like 500 scalpels or something close to that number. And it was weird because there by no means should go through that much. I don't understand the logic of this, but it's the one mystery left untouched, so here we go. Hail Mary. It's a scalpel, or rather, scalpels.
Did you say scalpels?
Ah! It would appear that word has struck a chord, Doctor. You! Come on, out with it! It was yesterday when we visited your laboratory. Look at this big, thick book here. Ah, it appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh? What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... well, one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month.
It was 500. $500 scalpels a month? At first, I wondered what on earth you could be using that many scalpels for. But actually, I realize now it's not the scalpels themselves that are significant. It's the money for them, disappearing every month from that department's accounts. Asmon's criminal organization relied heavily on extortion for its funding. Tracing the money from the forensic investigation team's account to find out where it was going would be extremely straightforward. Ugh. 10 years ago, when Mr. Asmon was still a journalist and wrote this article about Mr. Drebber, he may well have stumbled upon information as he was researching the story. Information relating to Dr. Scythe's darkest secret that he would use to rack money from her for the next decade. Her darkest secret? Good lord, you mean? I don't know what happened on the night of that execution 10 years ago, but clearly the opportunity to rid yourself of that menace was too tempting to pass up. So in the end, you weren't coerced at all, were you? You did it entirely of your own free will. You stabbed Mr. Asmon in the heart with all your might, to silence the blackmailer who knew your dark secret forever. You'll never understand. None of you. What we've had to keep covered up all these long years. Well, I think it's done. As very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb, the truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, it's very possible that Courtney Scythe will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done and tell the court the truth about what happened. 10 years ago, you told the truth, and you were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I can certainly understand your bitterness and your consternation now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for, to sever the hold that fate's had over you all these years. Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. I mean, really. It's the addle-brained mock scientists that are the worst, you know. They don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. They can't even get that right. And so they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about their wonderful hypotheses, their stupid eyes shining like a little child's. They make me sick. I can't abide their foolishness. Careful, Mr. Drebber. I was particularly pleased with the kinesis machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? So you admit it? You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim? Yes, I admit it. I did it all in the name of revenge. Revenge for the future that Mr. Asmon's article had deprived you of 10 years earlier. But the revenge you sought didn't stop at Asmon, did it? Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in. Yes, I see.
The condemned convict that you saw rising from the grave in Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events was all true,
then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge what had happened, even if it meant discrediting a bright young man and crushing any future career he might have had. So your plan required that you abduct that particular waxwork model in order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well, or on Dr. Scythe to be precise.
it was a year ago. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Asmund turned up at my workshop. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article on the front page caught my eye. About the coroner who'd handled that bogus autopsy being appointed head of a new forensic team. When I learned that news, my cognitive processes started to devise the plan. What a horrid tale. He robbed me of my future, so I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him for revenge. And have that rotten Scotland Yard eating out of my hand at the same time. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation I'd have to suffer.
What a powerful motive. Hot damn. Your actions against those who'd ruined your future were justified as revenge, at least to yourself. Certainly, no one has the right to destroy another's prospects, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Did I? Professor Harebrain's only crime was passion for his hypothesis, but you had no compunction about sacrificing his future to effect your revenge. You knew that he would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Perhaps life treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others' misconduct left your life in tatters. But remember this. Your own actions resulted in exactly the same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. I bet he didn't calculate that. Lord Van Zieks? What of Dr. Scythe? An immediate warrant for her arrest has been granted and she's been remanded in custody, my lord. I presume she will face trial in the coming days, along with Mr. Drebber. A most regrettable situation indeed. She has made great contributions to her profession over the years. It really is a hard truth to swallow. However, that is a topic for some future occasion. For now, Professor Harebrain...
Yes?
It seems there was a great deal more to your experiment than you realized. However, I think we can assume now that all the sordid details have been brought to light. This has been a very long and profound trial, but I'm pleased to say you are absolved of all guilt.
This whole experience has taught me a very great but painful lesson. I've been, this dedicated scientist, this devotee of natural philosophy. I've been selfish and self-centered and above all, a fool. Professor. I've spent my life thinking of nothing but my research. misguidedly believing that I could do whatever I set my mind to despite my lack of talent. And the worst of it is, in the process, I've caused others pain and misery. Others who are far, far greater people than I.
No, Professor, that's not true.
What?
Don't tar yourself with that same brush as Drebber. What happened was his doing and his alone. This outcome is his fate, not yours. You're not to blame in any way.
Lord Van Zieks.
And the derision with which he referred to you earlier, calling you a fool, talentless even. The man has no idea. To believe in yourself and work your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams, that's laudable, not laughable.
Well, damn.
No one has the right to deride another for such choices.
What wonderful words.
Oh. Thank you, Barak.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
Yes, my lord.
it is this court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge of which he stands accused. I presume there are no objections.
None from me, my lord.
Certainly not. This trial has really made me think, but this is the right decision.
It's all been proven methodically and rigorously. I have no misgivings whatsoever.
Huh? What's that? He's done, is he? It's all over?
I don't know what's become of the yard these days. I don't recognize the place.
Very well. In that case, I hereby pronounce the defendant not guilty.
Hooray! Yeah!
Oh, wow. What a trial. What a case. This was so well thought out. It's staggering.
Court is adjourned.
Honestly, this might go down as one of my favorite cases in all of Ace Attorney. That was really good. It's over. That was some trial. Whew, we'll be home in time for dinner. Professor, what a splendid outcome, isn't it?
Oh, it is, it is. Congratulations, Professor Hairbrain. Mr. Naruhodo, Miss Usato, I am truly beside myself with gratitude. How can I ever thank you enough?
I'm just glad it's all been cleared up. That you realize you were just caught up in a bad situation.
Right now, you know, if I had that research grant money, I'd give the whole lot to you, every penny.
Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so...
We don't need any financial reward. Your acquittal is more than enough. Oh dear, oh what can I do?
Aha! How about this? As a memento, the paper about my hypothesis is inside. Well, just as a memento then, thank you.
I've been wondering, Professor. What are you going to do now?
Oh my, yes. What am I going to do? My hypothesis and my great machine lie in ruins. But still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the great exhibition whilst I'm here, too, and see if new inspiration hits me.
Oh, yes, that's a wonderful idea.
I can't allow that? Huh? Oh, what? Lord Van Zieks, what are you doing here? Barak, I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert.
Well, if I'm honest, it was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there, snarling down on your prey.
You're one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution or the defense.
Oh,
Well, that's nice. Maybe you'll stop making racial remarks. Sorry? Or the defense? Did I just hear that right?
I always knew that you had my best interests at heart, don't worry. How about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we left university. We have a lot to catch up on.
Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. What, to escape the Reaper?
What?
From there, you'll cross the channel and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets.
Oh.
He purchased those tickets before the trial even began, did he? He had faith in Ryunosuke that much. Van Zeeks, stop making racial comments then. Just stop.
But no, hold on a minute, Barak. What about the Great Exhibition? This is the chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around.
No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea.
Sometimes it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Barak.
Lord Van Zeeks. What's all this about? A necessary precaution.
Yes, I think I understand.
You do?
Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Van Zeeks at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing.
Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time, and thinking it was nice of him to ask.
The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well, even though it's been more than 6 months now since he stood trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor.
You mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas? Those in the Reaper's sights meet their ends days or sometimes months after their acquittal. That's been the pattern up to now.
But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina were completely innocent.
Yeah, explain Gina then. True. And perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend.
Barak!
Like the mustached Nipponese, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once.
Right.
Does your friend-shaped package get any say in it?
Goodness, was this your intention all along then, Lord Van Zeeks?
In court, where people think of him as the Reaper, this man seems absolutely merciless, and yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being.
Yes, all right. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, thank you so much for everything.
Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you.
Best wishes, Professor Hairbrain. Well, once the dust has settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Anyway, goodbye for now.
Now, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes? I thought you'd gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk with me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes. Well, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he walked away this time. The enigma, Barak van Zieks. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes, then. Anime? Could it be anime? No, probably not. So, are you satisfied? You saved a guileless scientist from a great injustice. Yes, I think so. I'm relieved, at least, that the man's innocence could be proven. Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my animosity towards you Nipponese comes from. Is he gonna spill the beans? Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. I imagined you saw me as a pretentious child from an unimportant land who had no business being here. But now I think differently. You clearly know our ways, so I would guess that some specific incident led to your thorough dislike of my race. Will you tell me what happened, please? It's the professor, isn't it? The professor's Japanese, right? Okay. The professor. I thought I'd never hear that name in this courtroom again, to be honest. He took your brother's life. Clint. My brother was Clint Van Zieks. 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens, he was already the director of prosecutions and a key member of the judiciary. I looked up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations then too, to share knowledge and ideas. As part of one of those programs, 3 judicialist students came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan. Oh! If it was 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father. I was about to say, Mikotoba, maybe Jigoku, and their professor? Of course, I remember Dr. Mikotoba well. I had no idea. I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecutor's office. One day, Clint introduced me to the 3 visiting Nipponese. So, you've actually met my father? He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work and exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with the Nipponese spirit, and it made a very great impression upon me. But 6 years later, that's when it happened. The investigation was going nowhere. There were no suspects even, just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zieks. Truly. I just had a terrifying thought. Okay, I want to say it now before anything else in this story gets continued. Okay, so 3 Japanese came to Britain. Mikotoba and 2 others, one of which is probably Jigoku, Judge Jigoku. The 3rd was the Professor, the Killer. Now, why would a foreign dignitary sent to another nation want to start killing the nobility and the important people of the land? I don't think that's like serial killer territory. No, that's more like assassin territory. That 3rd Japanese, the Professor, probably the Professor, I don't know for certain yet, was an assassin, and assassins have orders. A special mission, you might say. And what other person do we know is a Japanese with very special, mysterious orders we don't know about yet? Did the Japanese government send Kazuma Asogi over to Britain to become an assassin and kill people? Is that what's going on here? That's a theory. That's a theory. It's certainly a theory. Also. Oh boy. Oh, and what if, like, Kazuma's right here? What if Kazuma, hearing this story for the first time, activate him like some sort of sleeper agent, like the assassin half of him wakes up and starts going to work. Meanwhile, the friendly Kazuma one, who probably wouldn't want to really be an assassin, is still locked away in amnesia land. What if that happens? Okay, anyway, I need to put my foot on the pedal here. Clint was always ready to put his life on the line for justice anyway. So he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to the killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. When I finally found out the killer's identity, the reason why no one had been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. He'd been hiding in plain sight all the time. In plain sight? Are you aware of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomacy between the British and Japanese empires. A new treaty was being forged, I think. Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions. Which is why this particular killer's appearance in court was conducted as a closed trial. If the British public had known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, but our two nations could very well have ended up at war. What? A war? Between Britain and Japan? But that would mean... Oh my, you mean to say the professor was...
Whoa.
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time. Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster. I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum.
You know a cutscene's important when they just blow out the budget like this. Holy crap.
So see for yourselves now. Confirm it with your own eyes. The truth that's been hidden this past decade.
That's the professor?
Yes, that's him.
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before, was Japanese.
Wait a minute. That face.
Why do I recognize it?
I feel as though I've seen it somewhere.
I've recognized it too.
Familiar.
I've recognized it too. Why did I recognize it? Oh no! Wait! Wait, no! Oh no. Don't tell me.
Father.
No. Why did I have to be so goddamn correct?
What? Father? Kazuma! My best friend, Kazuma Asogi. After a whole year, finally his memories returned. As he stood there before me, Ryunosuke. Hello again. My friend.
Kazuma-sama!
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba.
It's been a very long road.
I am losing my mind over here.
Thank you for guiding my friend here when I could not.
It was an honor.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily. Kazuma.
I owe you thanks, too, for taking good care of that in my absence.
Oh. Karuma. Great blade of the Asogi clan. Passed down through the generations. When we left Japan, this sword was at my friend's side. A Japanese man's katana is his soul, and he couldn't be parted from it. But then, when the incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword, and I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared. With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
I've made it. At last.
Father. Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time? I'm looking at it, I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
Kazuma-sama.
Ryunosuke, we have much to talk about, but now is not the time. I'll be seeing you.
Well, that wasn't ominous at all.
That's all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
Hot damn. I don't know what to make of that. I could see it going either way. Hopefully a killer didn't just walk out those doors. Well, a future killer, that is. So he's the living after-image of the man who took my brother's life, is he? Yes, Kazuma Asogi. He's my best friend. 3 months ago, when Lord Strongheart introduced us, I had an inkling there was something there, some connection. But why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why did he make Kazuma Lord Van Zieks' apprentice? And when he was suffering amnesia, too? The man was apprehended, even executed. But his legacy just won't die. That's the sad truth. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I thank you for meeting with me as I asked.
"10 years ago, my grandmother took me to the railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me, it was the first time I'd ever seen him."
Poor Susato-san. All this is tied up with painful memories for her, too. She's never talked about this with me before, though.
It took time to adjust to having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son, a boy 7 years my senior. Father told me the boy had made a promise to his late father, so he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, that young man's name was Kazuma Asogi. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great friend had returned, only to disappear again all too soon. But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. As if great wheels had been set in motion. I could almost hear them creaking into life. In some ways, it was the end of a chapter, but in many, it was the start of a new one.
Damn. Bravo. Bravo. Holy shit. Yeah, I guess I'll save. Oh. Episode 4, Twisted Karma and His Last Bow. Karma? Karma is a heavy word in this franchise. Don't go throwing that word around lightly. Anyway. Holy shit! Right. I don't like how menacing Cosmo was there at the end. Like, on one hand, he destroyed the waxwork of his father. On one hand, I could interpret that as destroying what he represented, severing ties with him, rejecting who he was, who the professor was, the killer. On the other hand, I could interpret that as, yeah, let me just cover our tracks and I'll go ahead and pick up where my dad left off. I don't know. I do not know. But at the same time, I'm pretty goddamn sure Male Strongheart knows exactly what Cosmo's mission here in England is. He knows exactly what it is. It's one of the earliest things I theorized, and all signs are pointing to that being true. So either I'm extremely incorrect about what Cosmo's actual mission here in Britain is, or a killer of the rich and noble is exactly the kind of thing that Strongheart would want, but I don't understand how that could be. Strongheart's goal, at least his stated goal to Ryunosuke, is to reform the justice system, right? To make it harsher on criminals. To strengthen security, right? I mean, I guess there could be something to say in assassinating naysayers to Strongheart's design, but... Or maybe Strongheart wants another war. What if Strongheart wants the rejection of Japan? He wants a war between Britain and Japan. Could that be a thing? Oh, it's hard to say, but either way, I'm still kind of certain that Strongheart's gonna be the final boss, as it were. We have 2 more cases to go in this game. My god, how the shit? Like, it would make sense if this here that we just finished was the 4th case. And this could be an excellent setup for the grand finale. But no, we have 2 cases left to go. They're not done setting up for the great finale. What the hell? Look, when I went into this game, this collection of 2, this duology, I was like, it's gonna be hard to dethrone Ace Attorney Investigations 2 as my all-time favorite in the series. But here I see that this game is, in fact, gunning for that throne. What a scene! I mean, it wasn't even anime, it was better. They were using the 3D models. And the way it was so well animated and motion captured and everything. Oh. It felt so wildly dynamic. Like, Ace Attorney has phenomenal animations, but if it's anything, it's also stiff. The characters have very rigid poses, which are dynamic and very, very fun to look at and expertly, flawlessly get across their personalities. The animation's great, but at the same time, the stiffness, well, the sheer contrast of how beautiful that scene was really made it all so much more impactful. I kind of hate that I ruined it by having that stupid little mouse on the shoulder. You know, people always joke online about, oh, isn't it so funny and wacky when your silly custom character wearing neon pink is in an important sad cutscene? It was that, and I've never actually liked that. I like taking things seriously and giving the story the dignity it deserves, so the small mouse was... I was trying very hard not to laugh and ruin the moment there. I'm thinking for next video, I'll put Ryunosuke and Susato back in their traditional Eastern garb. Especially now that they're more likely to reconnect with their homeland in the coming trials and cases, and oh boy. Kazuma. Why is he wearing white? Ryunosuke wears black. It's his default costume. Ryunosuke wears black, and now Kazuma's wearing a white suit under his cloak there. He's wearing white now. He's like diametrically opposed to Ryunosuke. It's like they're setting him up as enemies. Like, is Kazuma's gonna be our enemy? I don't like that. Nah. Well, I'm losing my shit. This has been more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you next time when we begin the next case, the penultimate one. So until then, please take care.